Hello and welcome to our course, Anvil Web Apps with Nothing But Python. Have you ever wanted to create a web app, but then as you got into it, you realized, well, it's not just Python, it's also CSS, HTML, JavaScript, server-side code, maybe Docker or Linux, and then talking to a database with something like SQL and database design and all of these things. Well, building real web apps that are what you might call a full stack web app, there are a ton of moving parts there, a bunch of different technologies. I like to say you need to know at least 5 different technologies, programming languages, to work on full stack web apps. But with Anvil, all you need to know is how to work with a visual designer and write Python code. And they make that Python code take care of everything, the front end JavaScript type stuff, as well as the back end server stuff. They have the database in place and it already has the relationships defined for you. What will we cover in this course? Well, let's see. We're going to start out talking a little bit about full stack development, as we kind of already have. We're going to dig into what it is, and we'll refer back to that as we go throughout the course. When we build websites, we want to create web pages so we can show them in our browser. Now, how do you go about doing that? Normally, what you might do is go and open up a blank file and start typing in HTML, maybe put in some CSS and some content. You've got to know quite a bit to make that work well. With Anvil, you get a visual designer with a toolbox full of these controls. You can drag a button over and drop it and set some properties on it to make it look just like I want. We're also going to talk about navigation between pages. You might be thinking, that's just put a hyperlink here and it's going to click over to another page and that's navigation on the web. Yes, in general, that's true. But within Anvil apps, it's a little bit different. These are what are called single page applications, sometimes referred to as SPAs. As far as the browser is concerned, it downloads the page once, and once it's loaded up, it never refreshes the page. Just a bunch of JavaScript-y stuff is happening. It's not hard, but it's a little bit different, and we're going to focus on how to do that. You'll see it's really nice because there's actually no latency. You're not going to the server waiting for a response and then loading the page. You're just running locally. It doesn't really even matter what network or how fast your network is. So this navigation is pretty cool. We're going to talk about databases. Now, we don't have to set up databases or design them or create them with DDL and all that kind of stuff that maybe you don't want to think about, but there is a database service and we can create tables that already can easily have relationships between them. We're going to have what are called client modules. Because our application is a single page app, a lot of stuff is happening on the client in JavaScript. However, we don't want to write JavaScript. We're Python people, right? With these client modules, as well as the forms, we write Python code. That Python code runs in the browser. Incredibly, in Anvil, you write Python code instead of JavaScript to run on the front end. That's super awesome. Sometimes you have to write server-side code as well. Server-side code can run with higher access to the database, or it runs on real Python with access to the real packages and modules that you might need to do real Python things and keep them safe on the server where nobody can mess with them. So we'll be able to define client modules and server-side modules and connect them together basically seamlessly. We're going to manage users and store those in our database. With something like Anvil, you might think you're stuck in this web world with the designer, but a lot of cool web applications can be way more than just a web app if they define an API, if they have some kind of HTTP service that other things like mobile apps or other web applications can integrate with. And Anvil does that as well. We're going to focus a lot on building HTTP services with Anvil and consuming them. We're even going to build a Python GUI-based application running locally, talking to and working with our data over this HTTP service we're going to create in Anvil. Speaking of which, we're going to create this client application, and it's going to be the thing that actually talks to our HTTP service. In the app that we're going to build, we're going to model some kind of paid software as a service product. And in order to do that, we're going to have to let our users buy a pro version of our service. So we're going to add e-commerce support with Stripe to our web app, and you'll see that's actually super doable. Similarly, if you're going to have a product, it needs its own domain. You don't want to just put it out and leave it on some kind of random shareable link. We'll see that we can take our Anvil app and host it on a custom domain that we control. And finally, we'll see there's some limited support for version control. In this course, we're going to spend the vast majority of our time actually writing code, working in Anvil directly in Python, building out our application. It's not going to be PowerPoints and just a bunch of fluff and walking you through. No, we start with blank pages and we build this app end to end with very little copy and paste or starting from any working code. So you're going to see it built from the ground up. Here's our app. It's called Fitnessed. That's how we're going to pronounce it. And it's dropping the E because we want it to be something we could trademark and something cool and things like that. So we're going to build an app. And the idea is that it tracks your health, tracks your stats like your weight and your resting heart rate over time. So here you can see it has a little landing page. It tells you that if you follow this plan, you'll wake up feeling energized and it's free and it's mobile friendly and all of those kinds of things. Let's go and actually log in. If we try to do the other stuff, it'll make us create our account. So here you can see we have a really nice login page. We can log in with Google. I'm just going to log in with the username and password, or I could register. When I land here, you can see this is our homepage that has our fitness details. Really nice interactive graph. We can come in here and see things like that. We could zoom in on a particular section like this and pan it around. Right, we can look at our data. So we have this really nice interactive graph. So the idea is we're going to allow people to enter their weight and their resting heart rate one time a day, and then they'll have a graph and they can see how are they doing? Are they getting healthier and things like that? There's a nice way for them to add things like this. So they can say, I want to add a measurement here and come down here and pick a cool, their date just like that and so on. Put their heart rate as 75 or whatever. Now weight is required and so on. So very, very cool. We can also compare us against people who are like, if you're this tall and you're a male, here's their average. Here's how you compare to those people. Okay, so this is the app that we're going to build. It has a pro, go over to our account. See, I've purchased the pro plan using a credit card. So I started as a basic free user and I upgraded through the e-commerce system. This is the app that we're going to build entirely in Anvil. And we're also going to build some Python apps on the side that simulate things like mobile apps that could save our data or other utilities that work with our databases here. At this point, you might be wondering, who is this disembodied voice out there speaking to me? Well, here I am. My name is Michael Kennedy. Nice to meet you. This is what I look like. You can follow me on Twitter at @mkennedy. You might know me from the Talk Python to Me podcast, which I founded about 4 years ago and been hosting for a long time, or the Python Bytes podcast, which I co-founder with Brian Ocken. And probably most directly is Talk Python Training, where you're taking this course. I'm the founder and I've created many of the courses, but not all of them, over at Talk Python Training. Nice to meet you. I'm really excited that you're in my class. We're going to have a lot of fun going through this technology.